Hello, my name is Alan Warner, and this is part 2 of saving the high score. Part 1 of the previous video showed you how to save and load the high score using push button objects on the screen. This video will show you how to save and load high score automatically and then place it onto the screen. Let me show you visually how it works, and then if you like what I'm showing you, you can stick around. I give you the an explanation of what's going on here and the code. Okay, if you watched the previous video, you will note two changes here. The load and save push button objects have been removed. They were down here because they're no longer needed. Next, we added a high score right here below the regular score. And this score right here, this regular score, like I say, it's just a score I arbitrarily placed in the startup code to set the 2000. Your game will normally start off at 0, and then it'll go up. You know how it works. and of course, I can make it go up and down by using the keyboard, by using the Alt and Space bar to make it go up and down. You can see it's not even affecting the high score. And the reason it's not affecting the high score right here, it's just 39,000. Well, obviously because it's not greater than the high score yet. So what we do, if we bring it up, 38, 39, 40, it'll start reading it, and it'll start saving it onto the file. And if I go back down, nothing happens. The only time it'll change is when this score right here exceeds this score right here, and it'll display it for you. So that's basically it. Let's get into the coding part right now. Okay, now that we know what we want to try to accomplish, I'll go into details on how to accomplish it. Alright, there's two versions I'm going to show you how to do this. The first is going to be the quick version for those people out there who just want to get the code and then get out of here with just a quick explanation. And then I'll have the second version that goes in more into depth for those people who really want to understand, or at least partially understand, what's going on here. Alright, let's start off with the quick version. So if we go over here, we'll look at the scripts first. I have two scripts in my scripts folder that I created, and what you need to do is do the same thing. Create two scripts and name them the same as these two scripts right here. Let me open them up here and open this one. So the data you have right here, you copy it and put it into the load high score script, and then you take this data and load it into your save high score script. And that's all there is for scripts. We only have one object in this game right here, and it's called the object control. I place it in the scene. You can place it anywhere because it's invisible, and so it doesn't matter where you place it. So we'll open it up, and it has 4 vents. It has your create event, draw event, and then it has 2 events relating to the pressing the keyboard for the Alt and the Space bar. When you press the Alt, the game score will go down. If you press the Space, the game score will go up. Alright, so the create event has this data right here. The draw event has this data. The Alt button has this data, and the Space has this data. Now it might be good to know that these press button, the alternate and space bar, are only there to use to verify that the code actually works. When you actually make the game, you're going to get rid of those two events. So that's this is the quick version. Now let's go into the more in-depth version. Okay, now that we got the quick explanation out of the way, we go into the more detailed explanation on how this code actually works. What we have right here is we have a background. I made this background in Photoshop, but you really don't need it for this demonstration. You can actually go over to press on your background and then click background color and just use the color that you want. I don't need it, so I'll just turn that background color off. So when we look at this background right here, we see that there's only one object. It's called your object control. It can be placed anywhere, like I said previously, because it's invisible, and you won't be able to see it. All it does is loads and saves the high score, and then it makes the regular score go up and down by using the Alt and Space keyboard. Of course, those two functions aren't really needed in the game. They're just there to demonstrate that this code actually works. Alright, let's just go over the scripts again like we did before, and we start off with your script load high score. What you want to do is, to make a script, all you do is right click on it and then push create script, and then name it over here in this function and fill in the data that you want here, and then access it from anywhere within the program. Alright, so what we got here first is what it's going to do is it's going to look to see if high score text actually exists, because it might not exist yet. It might be that well, it might just not exist yet, basically. So what we have inside of here, if it does exist, we create a variable called variable load file, and a file is a special variable that holds file system data. This file system data is kind of complex, but it does a lot of this stuff behind the scene, and it's made up of a bunch of functions that you can use to help you load and save files. So what you're going to need to do is three things when you're using a load file. You're going to need to open the file, you're going to need to manipulate the file, and then you're going to have to close it. Now remember, well, here's something you need to know that's kind of important. If you forget to close the file or add the close file function, your game will work fine. It's just that the problem is that the file stays open, and if this happens enough, you could actually get something called memory leaks, or you could, if it's really bad, you can actually crash the system. So you really want to make sure that your file text close is added. Now for this one right here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be loading something. So whenever you load something, it's the same thing as reading something. So when we open it up, we're going to call it open read. Now if we save something, we'll be writing to it, and we'd call it open write, but in this case it's just open read. And then for both the save and the write files, we'll have to have close at the end. It'll be this exact name right here with whatever file you got right here. Alright, so what we do is first thing we do is open it up, and we use this statement right here, file text open, and it's gonna, you might want to add this. I'm not sure if you have to, but I like to use it so I can know pretty well where my file is going to be stored to. So you push working directory plus the name of the file that you want it to be, and I got a high score .text. You can actually name your whatever this thing is, your postfix, I guess. You can name it whatever you want. A lot of people name it SCR for score, but I like to name it text because I might want to read it in a text file. It just makes more sense to put in text for me. Okay, after you open it up, then you can do whatever you want to. You can manipulate it somehow. And what we want to do, we just want to read in a real number from the file we saved it at, if we actually did indeed save it on a file. And the reason we have the word real is because you can actually put two things here. I think real and string or text. I don't know what the other one is, but real means it's a real number instead of a string. So what it does is uses the file information to get that data off the file and then load it into variable high score. Then eventually you just close it out here. That's the load score. Now the save score is not that much really different from it. It's just instead of opening it to read, you open it to write. Use the same working directory and stuff right here as you did over here. But then when you write to it, you're going to have to tell it what to write to. You can't just put a variable save file there. You have to put variable save file plus the information you want to write to, which will be your score data. And this score data is the data that it's a global variable that the computer supplies to you. Alright, and then finally you want to make sure that you close it. This is very important. Please close your text. your file data. And I can't really stress that enough, but you got to close it. All right, that's basically it for it. What it does right here, this is what, oh yeah, I didn't explain this. It says if the score is greater than the variable high score. What it's doing is saying if the score is greater than the high score you've been, the current high score that's been saved, then replace the current high score with this score right here. So you'll be placing this score here now. Now when you load the file up, this score will be the high score. If that makes sense. All right, so those are your scripts right here. Next, we go into the object control, and we, like I said, we have 4 events, and the first one is your create event, and it has your variable high score, and it's assigned to 0 because we don't know what the score is yet, so we might as well make it the lowest we possibly can. We want it to start off the lowest value. It just makes sense. And then we try to load up the high score. Well, initially, when you very first start the game, there won't be a high score, so it won't load up anything. So this variable high score will still have 0 in it. And since the load high score is used to change the variable high score data, and it can't, then the variable high score data will end up with having 0 in it still. I gotta hope that makes sense. Alright, next we go to the draw event. The draw event has it uses both those scripts. First, it saves what you have. If it'll save the high score if the current score is actually higher than a high score, and then it'll load the high score into the high score. And after that, we'll use this draw text transform. And what this draw text transform does is it'll place the text at location X of 100 and Y of 175. And as you know, at the top of the screen, the top left of the screen is 0, 0. So as you go away from the left and go towards the right, this would be your X value. The X value gets bigger, and as you go from the top to the bottom, your Y value gets bigger. So this should be somewhere around over here somewhere, I guess. And what we have is we have 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. The first parameter, well, actually no, we don't. I lied here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parameters. The third parameter over here is how we display the score to the screen. And what it does right here with these little what this does right here is it displays the actual word score onto the screen, plus the actual score, which it turns into a text value by using this string function right here. Next, you have 2 and 2. 2 is your this is where you can scale the text out. I made both the X and Y scale 2 times bigger, so the whole total text will be twice as big as the original size. And the last one is your angle, which will rotate your text around a pivot point. I don't really want that, so I just left it 0. And finally, we have draw text. It doesn't change the size of the text at all. It just makes it exactly the way it was. And it will be twice as small as this one, because this one was changed. And it works basically the same way as the first 3 parameters of a draw text transform. And that's basically it. That's pretty well all you really need to know. So thanks for watching, and please forgive me for screwing up some of the stuff in here. I don't know, these videos are really hard to make.